Sergei. Today I'm going to share my thoughts and some personal experience about the highly renowned problem, which I do believe is definitely a topic to speak about. And I would like to start with a couple words about myself. So, I'm a game designer. I'm in game dev industry for 12.5 years. And during this time I was involved in almost every aspect of game development, I guess, except for art and coding. I did quality assurance, community management, project management, game design obviously, business talks lately, etc. etc. I've designed different type of games from web to social networks, mobile, Web3 games, not judging here, and the biggest one that I ever worked on was EverMerge, which is one of the biggest merge games worldwide. And for the last 2.5 years, I'm with iLogos Game Studios. This is one of the biggest Ukrainian outsourced companies, which provides, among other things, full cycle game development, and this is where I put my efforts into. Quick intro. When I was asked first to make a speech on a conference, the first thing that came into my mind was like, oh my god, what can I possibly say? What would be interesting for all these people out there? And the second thought was, what kind of specialist am I if after 12 years of designing games I can't find anything to be interesting for all these people? So I was quite like Dr. Adams in this comic strip. And then I shared these concerns with a friend of mine who said, man, why don't you do a speech exactly about this feeling, this experience, because it's quite common actually for all of us. And I was like, yeah, why not? But did it help me? No. I continued to procrastinate, to second guess, and feel really uncomfortable inside about this actually amazing opportunity. And honestly, there were 10 days ago, there were no speech. But here I am, and I will try to talk about this feeling, which I've experienced many times throughout my career. And without giving advices or judging or saying all you have to do is to believe in yourself, because this doesn't work. And okay, I don't want to dive deeply into history of this bias or use some medical terminology, but I would like to explain how I personally understand this and briefly share my thoughts about causes and consequences, share my personal experience, and I hope we will have time for some questions. So, what exactly the imposter syndrome is? From my point of view, I defined it as a continuous tension between confidence and doubts, which leads towards the exhausting loop of constant struggling with yourself, and with the main and the biggest fear of being unmasked and exposed as a fraud. And how this loop works actually. At the very beginning there is a task, but it could be any trigger actually. And by some criteria you feel uncertain about it. You feel uncertain about your abilities or the task itself. You're feeling anxious about it. Maybe you just don't like or don't want to do this. And actually it's kind of defensive strategy, evasion, but task is still out there. You have to meet deadlines. And eventually it comes either excessive preparation or procrastination. Procrastination is always followed by a stage of intense doing, because after all, you spent some time for procrastinating and now you have less time to perform this task. And when the task is completed, there is a sense of relief, but it fades quickly because when others provide you positive feedback because you finished this task, it doesn't align with your inner perception of yourself, because you understand that you spend time fighting yourself, procrastinating, and if the procrastination was the second phase, you think like, I was just lucky to meet the requirements, or they just don't see these minor things that I've done not very well maybe. And if the excessive preparation was the second phase, you think that the task is completed only because you put too many efforts inside it. It's not because of your abilities, it's not because of your skills, but just because hard working, and it's not about your feeling, about your skills. Like any person could do this, like me, if he puts so much effort as I did. And actually, this is where the feedback devaluation comes. And after all of this, you feel that achieving this result does not confirm your skills, does not align with your skills. And when you face a new task, a new trigger, this self-doubtness creates anxiety, uncertainty, maybe depression, and self-distrust increases, and the loop repeats. So being stuck in this loop obviously leads to, for a person to feel that he doesn't belong and could fail at any time despite any evidence of the contrary. And overall, imposter syndrome leads to overworking and burnout, because when you push too much effort in each task, you eventually run out of energy, like totally. Procrastination combines with self-blaming about spending your time not for doing what you have to do, but for fighting yourself. Setting impossibly high standards for yourself, thinking that you are not alike all these successful people in my industry, because obviously they can do better, so better than me. And with time, you start to obsess over every minor mistake or problem. Any of them could trigger the syndrome. But where does the initial self-distrust and anxiety comes from? I'd like to highlight specific reasons which, from my point of view, are most common. So, the first one is social pressure to succeed at all costs. I guess everyone knows that we know only success stories. It's all over there. It's in TV, in media, and even in games. We play only a few ones which become hits. We talk about them, we deconstruct them. We want to do something to be like them, and no one is talking about failures. And this creates an illusion that you have to be like these success stories. And if you can't manage to be like them, you didn't have to try, because obviously you'll fail. And this comes hand by hand with a stereotypical belief that truly smart people do everything almost intuitively. And okay, again, if you're not like them, you're a fraud. Family relationship, when the kid feels that he's not enough, then he should try harder, that his achievements are only a step for something bigger ahead. All of this leads for adults not to be able to say even for yourself that you're you're good enough, that you're proud of yourself, of your doings, of your achievements, that everything that you do is good actually, or even great. The feedback problem often comes hand by hand with some idealized model taken from some personalities from the industry, for example, and when you compare yourself with them, you always feel not so good enough, and thus you can't approve the incoming uploads for your personal doings. And the feedback, especially the one about mistakes, could be provided in such a manner which can leave individuals feeling uncertain about their skills, abilities, and again, like they don't belong in there. And other traumatic experiences, other things which could create this experience actually could result in belief that your success is undeserved. And then, after a long time spent like rationalizing your thoughts, thinking about how could you think in a more positive manner, you come to Twitter and see something like this, and it ruins you to the ground, like totally. And what about myself? Actually, this thing from Twitter has quite a connection with what I'm feeling, because being a self-learner, I always felt that I don't know as much as I have to be in order to fit my position, my career, and no doubt that the greatest fear of missing out is the one connected with your professional activity, because of direct impacting your life. And back in times, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there were almost no courses, lack of information for game designers, but there always was a belief that you have to have a proper education to succeed in any industry. And I was growing up with this constant contradiction in my head, because I like to play games, I wanted to play games, and there were no kind of education, so you have to study something, and in the same time use your free time to understand like intuitively. And so it leads for imposter syndrome, and now I'm just feeling guilty, for example, for having a free time during the day, because of the belief that you have your working day, you have to work from here to there, and it's like I always felt anxious and stressed out because I think maybe I forgot something to do, or you can be proud of yourself and say like, okay, maybe it's good and it's my efforts because everything works fine, every task is closed, the game is still there, and you can spend you can have a free time. It's not a problem. It's not like something will come to you and say like, wow, you're doing nothing. Come on, like, we will hire a new one. And obviously, after all these thoughts, how else could I explain something? So explain someone's telling good things about what I've done, because from inside, I just think that no way it can be so. Like, I'm nervous, I'm disappointed about what I did, even if it's okay for them. From inside, it doesn't work. And this sound sucks, yeah, but actually these feelings are not are not there every time, but they're being triggered by the, like, in the loop that I've presented before, and they could be triggered actually by different situations. Like, for example, you have a new scope of activity, you have raising job responsibilities, or even some daily stress or routine discomfort could cause this feeling again and again. And these anxious thoughts came into your mind and you just can't stop thinking about them. And from this point on, I could tell you something about the more grows your expertise, the more unknowns you encounter, or that instead of devaluating, you have to remind yourself that things which you've done are actually good, but there are tons of this in internet, and I promise to tell about my experience only, and actually none of this helped me. And the next statement could sound stupid, or like I'm trying to sell you kind of silver bullet, but I swear it's not. And for me, actually, it all was about self-acceptance. Like, I can't stop comparing myself with great people from the industry, or I can't stop feeling guilty for having a walk when I stuck with some task or just got none of them. But I do it much less often than I used to, and I guess this is why I just accepted that my mind works now in this way, and I'm trying to stop spending energy fighting myself, because I believe this is the most frustrating and the most dangerous thing about it. And if you try not to fight yourself, but just accept new rules of the game, new rules of your life, it could be like, we could use a game metaphor as well. And it's like, I don't know, Dark Souls, new game, plus. And yeah, that's it. I guess that you'd feel screwed up if it was the last slide. So I'll add a couple more things about my way of thinking. First, about the fraud feeling, because I've been transforming it from I'm unfit here, everybody knows it, and laughing behind my back, into I feel myself like I don't meet expectations of other people about this role. And it could both sound sucks, but actually the second point of view lets you to work with it and ask questions. What are these expectations? Are they really need to be met to fulfill this task, etc., etc. And sorry, we have 5 minutes. So I almost quit comparing myself with other people because I reached 2 major patterns of thinking, because I either focused on abstract skills, which are not fit for any real person in this kind of idealized model, or was looking only at one side of a real person, then thinking that he's good enough in this, and he's obviously should be good at all, and should be successful in anything. And actually, this is one of the main slides, I guess. A friend of mine, which I mentioned at the very beginning of my speech, conducted a survey within the Russian-speaking segment of industry this fall, and there were like only hundreds of answers, but which is obviously not a representative selection, but I'd like to highlight results as an example because you see that like almost 90% at least once feel that they're unfit here or have doubts about their skills. And which I try to say, it's common to have doubts. It's okay, and if you're having them, you're not alone. But if these doubts are consuming you and you're falling into this cursed loop of self-blaming and spending energy fighting yourself, just don't hesitate to ask for help or share your feelings or go to the therapy and heal. And continue, then we could continue to create games because that's what we do best, I guess. So remember, you are enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergei. You did wonderfully. It was okay.
Yeah.
So, we will now open the floor to any questions. We've got about 6 minutes before the coffee break, so I see a hand already. Yep. Here you go. Yes, the most stylish person here.
Thank you. Thank you very much, first of all, for bringing up such an important topic. I really think it's a very important one. And also thank you for sharing the experience of therapy, because I also think that it's very important. Because what we do here, like when we try to create games, we try to connect to people, and if we're not connected to each other, ourselves, we cannot be connected to other people, I think. My question is, I saw that on the slide you said about health. You put not only therapy but also music. Yeah. And I wanted to ask something more about it. Were you playing music? Were you listening to music?
No.
I do music, and that's what I'm very interested about.
No, I'm just a listener, so like sometimes you just have a put on your headphones and walk towards the ocean and yes. I guess that's the things that worked for me, and for every person they could be different. Like listening to music, it could be doing music, playing music in a band, for example. Yeah.
Hello, thank you for your talk. It's extremely good to see someone being vulnerable, and also it's extremely validating. It's something that if everyone is here on this room have been struggling with, right? And something that I've personally been struggling with, and I want to connect with what you told about doing things and not valuing what you're doing. I want to understand because I'm struggling with that right now. I do things, I get positive feedback on my work, but I still struggle with, no, but I can do more, I could do better. So I end up seeing myself as valuing what I don't do instead of what I do. And I want to understand if this thought process you presented here with the whole procrastination and all that, you go through that, if that's, so the perceived fraud, is that the factor of you think you could have done something else, and if what you did, because you mentioned you get a sense of relief and you get like a small rewarding feeling, but it doesn't last long. Is it connected to thinking you could be doing something else and better, or is it another point of view you have here? Sorry for the long question.
No, it's okay. Actually, the idea is that sense of relief you got after like completing the task which caused you anxiety, uncertainty, and you put procrastination, etc. It finishes when you've done this task, and you feel better because for a short time you're out of these feelings. But then came the feedback, and you remember how you feel before, and that's it. Like you begin to devalue the feedback because of the thoughts which were in your mind when you're fighting yourself doing this task. So kind of like this. So is this the answer? Or?
Yeah, basically even if you get the positive feedback, You don't feel like the positive.
It made me you even feel worse because you feel that you don't
it's like
deserve.
I just did my job, and it's a ongoing thing. Thank you.
I'll follow up on her question then. Is like, how do you accept the positive feedback in a positive way?
I guess that maybe this is like a step 2 and I'm on the step 1. And I just don't have a proper answer, but I guess that if you don't devaluate it, it's already good. Like, if you're thinking that, yeah, it's okay. You're not thinking like, I'm a fraud, oh, come on. You just don't know how many times I spent procrastinating. But if you're okay, just okay, this is already good for you, I guess. Because this is the place where you can like step out from this loop and not running around.
All right, we'll make this the last one, and then y'all can go get some coffee.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to add to the point how you can accept the positive feedback. And often I ask also for the negative one, so it makes it more believable to actually accept the positive one. Or when I'm doing mentoring to mentees, I always go with one positive thing, one negative thing, so they know that I'm capable of giving negative feedback. I'm not just being their friend and just saying positive things. So maybe this would help. So when you don't believe someone for the positive feedback you're getting, you just ask something negative so you can believe the positive part as well.
That's true. Yeah, and I guess everybody who's giving this feedback for anyone, for mentoring, for juniors, or even just like your friend giving you a game and you play and you see that like maybe it's not very good, but it's important for him, and it's very important not to say something rude or something which could cause this traumatic experience for him, and then he will stuck in this loop. Yeah, that's true.